This is the academic writing directions that we're going to be using for the year. And for the most part, especially if you're struggling with writing, we're going to be using this particular chart, which is going to help structure your essay, letting you know exactly how many sentences you need, and you will be scored out of 23 points. Keep in mind that this can change depending on rubric adjustments that can be made. So these points can vary, however, the criteria is still the same. You're still expected to provide a thesis and support. So let's look at a couple of examples here to try to help you understand each box. So the first thing is your thesis. Make sure you have one sentence, no more, and you are outlining your argument. The assassination of Ferdinand caused World War I. If I stopped right here, I would tell you this is vague, lacks detail, and has nothing specific. But we go on. This event forced countries to live up to secret treaties and resulted in Russia and Germany mobilizing their forces. So these are the two arguments that are going to be supported for this particular thesis. So this thesis in its entirety is good. It's arguing two valid points. So let's look at the next section. In the next section, we're looking at context. The context, you want to provide background information and you want to work on your transitions. Also, think about including specific dates as well as terminology, which shows that you understand the period that you are writing about. Alliance systems, Berlin Conference, even though I would like to see a little bit more as opposed to the 1800s. You could probably get a little more specific with that date. However, it's still okay because there's at least 3 references. Now we're going to look on the identification. So what I'm looking for here is you need to identify the source, introduce the source, and then that source has to support the thesis. So if the thesis is about dogs, then this source better be about dogs. If it is about cats, it is not going to count. So we have a transition, for example, the Triple Alliance. This is a primary source document, should be in italics. And then according to Article 1, the high contracting parties promise peace and friendship. So we have about 2 sentences here. I would say 2, no more than 3 sentences for your support, and only cite the section that supports clearly what you're writing. Now we're getting into the analysis, the teal. According to this treaty, the Triple Alliance, the high parties are agreeing to enter into an alliance if either party agrees to the treaty were attacked. So now we're getting into some specifics, and when we look at the thesis is arguing that the assassination forced countries to live up to secret treaties. So we have the secret treaty example here, and we're utilizing it in our analysis when we write about Ferdinand's assassination in relation to this Triple Alliance treaty. Now we're moving on to the second source. You need to include 3 sources minimum that clearly support your thesis. Additionally, again with the transition, according to now a new document, the German Declaration of War on Russia, the German government used every effort since the beginning of the crisis. The crisis is the assassination. Now they get into talking about being the mediator. The crisis, again, is the assassination of Ferdinand. And then it says here, the crisis referenced in the German Declaration of War was the assassination of Ferdinand. Since Russia mobilized her forces, Germany perceived this action as a threat and declared war on Russia. So again, when we go back to the thesis, resulted in Germany and Russia mobilizing her forces. This is exactly what is being argued in the analysis and is supported with this source. So again, you're going to need 3 sources. That's why I use yellow, green, and teal, letting you know that you need 3 different sources to clearly support your writing. When we go back, we're looking at 23 total points. You need to have your thesis, 2 points, context, background information, and then you have to always identify your source. Notice here it says 2 points for each source. So you have to do this 3 times for a total of 6 points, and then you have to analyze all 3 of those sources for a total of 9 points. When using this rubric, this link will take you to thesis samples. You want to provide your context, you want to provide your source, and what I was saying before is you have to introduce your source, and it needs to have a clear connection to the thesis, because I'm going to score this. If you miss this 3 times, then these are going to be -1 deductions for a total of 3. The last part of the rubric is going to be this. Usually I stop at 4. So I'm looking at your flow, your assumptions. Are you writing too much? Is it not historic? Are you providing a concise argument? And is it difficult to read? So notice I have more than 4, but usually I'm going to stop at a -4 deduction, and that totals up to 23 after we combine these 2 pages of the rubric. So again, to go further more into detail here, I'm looking at your flow. You want to think about your transitions. You don't want to lose the reader. You want to talk about, World War I was a devastating war. Well, tell me why. Finish it. That's how your flow improves. Assumptions. You're writing 9/11 was a great terrorist attack. Well, that is an assumption. You need some clarification of support. Try not to write too much. We do not want this to read like a summary. Again, only stick to topics that relate to your thesis. Anything outside of that should not be included. So we're looking at all of these specific areas that can lead to further deductions, but this will be addressed in a later slideshow. In class, we might also use this direction sheet if we are struggling with developing topics. And notice how we do have these various links that will take you to different videos that can help you with any of these particular topics. Keep in mind, you could also just go to the website if you cannot find this sheet or it is not used in class. So again, we're going to be utilizing this outline, and this outline is telling you exactly how many sentences you need for each particular point. And we have a total of 23.